I love America. I served in the Marine Corps. My sons have served and are serving in the Marine Corps. And if you had told me I'd be marching with another country's flag in the future, I would have told you you're crazy, because I'm a patriot, and the only flag I'm ever going to march carrying is the American flag. So why am I doing this? 4,000 years ago, God spoke to a man named Abram in Mesopotamia who believed in only one God and said, I'm going to bring you out of that country and I'm going to bring you into a promised land, and your descendants, he tells them in Genesis 12 and Genesis chapter 15, your descendants are going to inhabit this land. It is going to be their land. I'm going to make from you a great nation, and you're going to be blessed. But not only that, but the people who bless you, Israel, they're going to be blessed. And the people who curse you, Israel, they're going to be cursed. And he says, and from you, Israel, all of the nations of the world are going to be blessed. Then 3,500 years ago, so all of this, the Palestinians were the first one there. Don't listen to it. That's propaganda. So then 3,500 years ago, a man by the name of David, these flags have the Star of David on them, a king, a poet, a warrior. He made Jerusalem the capital of Israel 3,500 years ago. But then something terrible happened in 70 AD after the life of Jesus. The Roman Empire decided that it would wipe the Jewish people off of the face of the globe, that there would not be a Jewish nation anymore. And in 70 AD, they tried to destroy Israel, and the Israelites, the Jews, were scattered all over the planet in 70 AD. But this did not catch God by surprise. This was all a part of God's plan. In fact, it was prophesied about by Joel, Isaiah, Ezra, and Jeremiah. They all prophesied that the people of Israel would be strewn all over the planet, but that one day, all of these Old Testament prophets prophesied that one day God was going to bring them all back together, and that they would be brought back from the nations where they were scattered to, and again they would be given the land of Israel. These are 2,500-year-old prophecies that came to fruition in 1949. In 1949, after Hitler, and this is how God uses evil people and evil things to bring about his purpose and his plan in the world. After the atrocities that Hitler had done on the Jewish people, the nations decided Israel needed to have its homeland back again. And so again, let me say, for those who have heard that the Palestinians were the original inhabitants there, it's not true. If you want to equate it to what's going on here in North America, especially for those who say, this land was the Native Americans first. Well, guess what? The Israelis were the Native Americans. They were the First Nations people of Israel. And so they were given their land back in 1949. But here's the problem. All around them, 99% of the Middle East is held by Islamic countries. And many of these Islamic countries are radical, and many of these countries have sworn to wipe Israel off the face of the planet. You've heard it in the chants here in America. You've heard, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Well, guess what's between the river and the sea? Israel. So guess what they're talking about doing? They're talking about wiping Israel off of the face of the planet so that the radical Islamic groups can have that small little sliver, that 1% of the Middle East that's not Islamic, to take that away and to take it from Israel. In my grandfather's generation, there was Pearl Harbor, and we said never again, right? And in our generation, those of us who are middle-aged, there was 9/11, where radical Islamic terrorists attacked our country, and we said never again. But to the World War II, never again, that never again is now. Because what happened to Israel on October 7th, if you do a comparison for our 9/11, what happened in Israel is 20 times the death, 20 times the destruction per capita, per person. They lost more people in comparison, 20 times proportionately what we lost on 9/11. And yet we're saying, oh, don't retaliate, be nice, be gentle, don't retaliate, when what they suffered was 20 times proportionately what we suffered. What happened here on 9/11? Buildings blew up and people died, right? What happened there is a lot worse. What happened there? What happened there is they came into homes. They had their way with mothers, taking babies from their mother's womb, torturing the babies while having their way with the mothers, and getting all of this on GoPro footage to brag about it to the world. So this whole claim of moral equivalence is a lie. It's a lie that the world is selling us. There is no moral equivalence. You have the nation of Israel saying, hey, we're about to come in. Civilians, get out of the way. And then you have Hamas, who's hiding under hospitals and telling their civilians that if you try and flee, we're going to kill you, because they're using the civilians as shields. The anti-Israel rallies breaking out across the country. The FBI Director of America says that hate crimes against Jews have reached a historic level not seen since the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism nationally has gone up 300% in the last month. Crimes against Jewish people just for being Jewish have gone up 300% just in the last month in our country. 400% globally. An elderly Jewish man was just killed by anti-Israel protesters in California, and Jewish college students are having to lock themselves and barricade themselves into their rooms to protect them from the anti-Israeli mob that's protesting outside. Why is this happening? And from the people who claim to be so inclusive, from the people who claim to be so tolerant, they are violently protesting. They're doing what we're doing today, but they're doing it violently. Amen. So that's why we're here today. Our grandparents grew up in the generation of never again, and never again is now. And I want to close with this. Bible kind of talks about 3 judgments, and some people lump them all together, but I think they're 3 separate judgments. You have the Bema judgment, you have the white throne judgment, and then you have what Jesus talks about in Matthew 25, the judgment of the nations. He said one day the Son of God is going to come, the King, and he's going to conquer, and he's going to bring all of the nations. He says nations, and that's what's key. He's going to bring all of the nations into a great valley, and he's going to judge the nations, and he's going to separate the nations based on what? These are the sheep nations. These are the goat nations. These sheep nations are going to enter into the new king's kingdom, and these goat nations are going to be destroyed. And on what principle is he going to do that? He said, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. And they say, when were we good to you? And he said, when you've done it to the least of these, my brothers and my sisters, you've done it unto me. And then when he turns to the goat nations and says, you're being destroyed, you're being judged, the nations are going to say, why? He said, when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. You were against me. When did we do that? When you did it to my brothers and sisters, he said, you've done it to me. So we as a nation, as the United States, need to stand with Israel, because he's going to divide the nations one day. He's going to divide the sheep nations from the goat nations. And it's going to be based on how we treated my brothers and my sisters. So we need to stand with Israel, because we want our nation to be a sheep nation. We want America to be a sheep nation.